Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Well, that was quick. My name is Chuck Guerrero. I'm an alcoholic. Happy holidays to everybody. I'm glad to be here. I want to thank Brandy for asking me to come out again to the Marina Center, the capital of sobriety. It's been a weird day. I'm operating on no sleep. I have a family that's wacky. I don't know if anybody can relate with that. For the last 20 years, they celebrate everything on Friday night, so I schedule everything on Saturday, and then they switch it last minute this year. So it's been like really weird. I had like last night with nothing going on, so we had a big turkey at our house, and we invited a bunch of people from our home group over, which entailed a lot of work. And then today I went over to do the family thing, and then shoot over here, and I got to go back. But I'm glad to do that because I love Alcoholics Anonymous. This is my I've been to a couple meetings today because I made commitments to be there. And I was taught really early on in Alcoholics Anonymous that what I say I'm going to do, I must do. And I'm not that kind of person. I'm the kind of guy that you say you're going to move, and I'll say, yeah, I'll give you a hand, and I don't make it. I say I'm going to do a lot of things I'm not going to do. I plan on doing them when I talk to you, but then something comes along, like a liquor store on the way, and just days go by and I forget. But I want to welcome you home if you're new. Could I see the hands of the people here with less than 1 year sobriety? Welcome home. How about the first 30 days? All right. Just I want to welcome you home to AA. You heard a fantastic speaker. The work's already done. I'm just here to share a little bit. I just loved your talk. Thank you, Bobby. I want to welcome you home. I want you to have the same welcome that I got when I got here, and it sounded like Bobby got when he got here. And I want to share with you what I heard at my one of my first meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous in 1991. One of my first attempts, rather, at Alcoholics Anonymous in 1991. I'd been to AA meetings before, but this time I actually wanted to be sober, to some degree. And I heard a guy get to the podium at a place called the Valley Club out in Reseda, which is often called the armpit of California. And I walked in, and this guy came up to the podium. He had plaids on that didn't match. He was wearing these really thick glasses and a gambler cap. I think he got sober when the earth was still cooling. And he said, I'd like to talk to the newcomer today and tell you that you never have to take a drink or a drug the rest of your life if you don't want to, and even if you want to, one day at a time. And that made sense. I've been told for years what I need to do, and he's telling me that I don't have to, even if I want to, because I have the mind of a chronic alcoholic, and when I don't want to drink, I could use a couple of shots of Cuervo. So it was news to me, and I'm just glad you're here. I'm glad there are new people here, and that there are things like this going on for people like me that don't want to be home and have nowhere to go. And I never want to forget where I come from. I hope Alcoholics Anonymous remains what it was intended to be, which is a haven for the suffering, and not a platform for the content. I always wondered why they welcomed us in new. I always wondered why they wanted us to raise our hands. And I always felt like they were like pointing out with a real loser stand up in the room, And I always felt like it was none of your business when I had my last beer, too. But I know why they do it. They do it to welcome me. They do it so we can talk to you after the break and give you our phone numbers and share with you. And I was always baffled because I'd been around AA for a long time, and I'm a smart mouth. And I don't like you. I talk about you. I tell your stories at work to people. It's like a comedy hour, It's just, it's the wackiest people on the planet, and I don't like anything about Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm a bad member. And I come back to you beat up every time with my toe between my legs, and you always say, "Welcome home, kid." You always pour me the proverbial half cup of coffee. Because if you're like Bobby and I when you're new, you could get a massage standing next to us. We're so shaky. But I don't know why. I can't figure out why you're nice to me. You're perplexing. You're kind of like a mix between the Salvation Army and Amway. You know, and I don't know what you want from me, and I don't get it. But I heard a guy share a story that I really, really liked. This guy told a story about a place called Monterey, California. Some of you know where Monterey's at. It's a very, very beautiful city. It's on Northern California, up on the bay. They have a large fishing wharf there, an aquarium. But years ago, it started off as a fishing town. And what they would do is they would can fish in Monterey, and they set up shop on this wharf, and they would catch these fish, and they would can them, and they would gut them and throw the guts out onto the wharf. Whenever they would do this, they'd can the rest of the fish. And Monterey Bay was known for its pelicans. They have gorgeous birds up there, and the pelicans are one of the species of birds that they're known for. And these pelicans started eating these fish guts off of the wharf. And after a while, they became very fat. After a while, they became lazy. After a while, they became very, very lazy, just complacent. One day a vitamin company comes in, and they made a deal with the fishing companies to purchase the fish remains to make vitamins from. And overnight, they stopped throwing the guts out onto the wharf, and what happened was ironic. What happened is the pelicans started dying of starvation. They started dying of starvation because they had forgotten how to feed themselves and how to fish. And the city of Monterey became very, very concerned, and what they did was they hatched a plan. They bought a lot of baby pelicans in to restock the pelican supply since they were dying in the record numbers. And what took place was astonishing. Well, it takes place every meeting Alcoholics Anonymous I go to. It takes place in meetings all over the world. And what took place was the baby pelicans instinctively knew where the source for life was. They instinctively had the drive to go out and hunt. And what happened was the old guys that had forgotten how to fish watched the babies and were retaught where it was at. And that's why they welcome losers like me back into AA. Because, see, I lack the ability to remember with sufficient force the suffering and the humiliation of a week or a month ago. I lack the ability to remember last Thursday how bad it was. But sometimes when I'm sitting with a new guy and I start talking, it's not like I look at him and go, well, I'm glad I'm not as bad as him. What happens is sometimes I'm looking at him and I see me. Sometimes I see me and he recharges feelings and emotions in me that I can't do on my own. And they're feelings of desperation and hopelessness. And if you're here and you're new and you're desperate and you're alone and you're afraid, I'm telling you, you're in the right spot. You're in a magical place to be an Alcoholics Anonymous, because desperation is really the key here. Desperation is that magic moment of conception that takes a smart-mouthed, egotistical punk like me, and it puts me in a place and in a position where I'm willing to take directions and do things that I don't even believe will save my life. So I really want to welcome you here. I'm an alcoholic of the hopeless variety, as the book describes. I didn't know that growing up. I had no clue. I always knew that there was something, when I was a little guy, I knew there was something inherently wrong with me. I don't know what it was, but something wasn't right. I've always had feelings of irritability, restlessness, and discontentedness. I've always been easily pissed off by things. I've always had a very fast and busy thinking mind. I don't know if anybody relates to that. I've always been the kind of guy that no matter what I get, it ain't good enough. And I never seem to fit anywhere I go. I'll hang out with certain crowds, and I just don't feel comfortable wherever I'm at. And, you know, the truth really is if you live in the kind of self-involved world that I live in, how could I really fit anywhere when I'm never really here? Because what I end up doing in a fear-based mind like I have, and a self-involved mind like myself, is I usually am overly concerned with things like what's going to happen tomorrow, or else I'm really self-pitying and remorseful about what I did yesterday. And I spend little time in the world with you. I don't hear anything you say. I went to meetings for years and didn't hear a word. I just sat there judging. I grew up in a small town outside of Fresno called Tulare, California. If Resita's the armpit, Tulare's the lower part of the anatomy. I can assure you of that. It's a little farming town. It's desolate. I was at a meeting out of state talking to these guys, and this guy said to me, "Yeah, I know where Tulare's at." I said, "You do?" He said, "Yeah, you can smell it before you're there." I said, "Yeah, you got it." It's a farming town. And I'm the oldest of three. My mom and dad were very poor growing up. They gave me and my sisters every opportunity that they didn't have as children, and but it wasn't enough for me. Because I have a feeling of that you owe me something, of entitlement. I have a feeling also, too, that if you work 2 jobs and you do whatever you can to give me the basics and you give me something special, like a motorcycle, and my friend gets a nicer one because his mom and dad have money, you don't love me right. You can't love me right. I grew up Mexican-American. I hated being Mexican. Couldn't stand it. Couldn't wait till they came out with a race change operation. You know? Because I thought I knew something about that. I truly thought that if I always kind of, wondered that I was, if I was properly financed, I would have turned out better. And I thought if I was lighter skinned with blue eyes and blonde hair, that I'd have done better. I wouldn't turn out like I did. But I look around the room and see I was wrong about that. I was like a nervous ball of twine, just nuts from the get-go. And I took my first drink at 12 and a half years old at a wedding because I was afraid to ask girls to dance at school because I didn't have the courage. But that night I took a drink. I took some red wine and some cold duck. We were high-class people. And it kicked in, and it does what alcohol does for people like me. The feelings of separation were gone. I don't know if anybody else here ever drank anybody good-looking. When I drink, things just change. The world changes. If you ever seen the movie The Days of Wine and Roses, I love the last scene out where she's looking at that scummy motel at that blinking neon light, and she says it so profoundly. She says, "When I don't drink, the world's dirty." And I got it. Alcohol that night reached inside of me, and it touched me in a way that would never be good enough again without it. It effectively relieved me of the bondage of self. It allowed me to come out into a world I don't belong in and play and be a part of and feel comfortable and feel like I was enough. Now, later on in my life, alcohol and the other things that I did with it necessarily wouldn't provide me with that particular sense at times, but sometimes it would provide me with the ability to not care. And if you're somebody like me that wrestles in your head night and day with everything that's happened, it's going to happen, and you cannot care, it's a good deal. I got real drunk that night. I loved it. I loved it. And I drank every chance I could at that age, and I was arrested at 15 and with my first meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous on a court card, and you guys were, I hated AA. I don't know what it is, but I hate it, and I go there, and it's just a bunch of old people. They're all disheveled. They're dirty. The room had a combined number of like 10 teeth. Everybody had a coffee mug in each hand and a cigarette hanging out of their mouth. And in between puffs, they cursed. It just looked bad. I had nothing to do with Alcoholics Anonymous. I could look around the room and see that you guys needed something. You were old. Your lives were over. You must be 30, right? I remember the gal told a story that was horrific. She'd done some time for, she killed her baby in a blackout. She put him in a tub and he drowned. And that's what I said. Oh, and that was quickly, the thought behind that was, man, these people are really terrible. I got to get out of here. And the problem that I have is the book talks about it. The book says that the main problem of the alcoholic centers in his mind rather than in his body, which really in plain English terms means this thing doesn't work very well. I have a mind that rationalizes and justifies anything. I can pen a bad idea with a good motive and a heartbeat. And I have the type of mind that offers me solutions that are worse than my problems. Some of you might relate. Stuff like I was too drunk to walk, so I drove. That's a common one that comes to my mind, and I still have that kind of thinking. It didn't go away. But I'm sitting in that room and I thought about it. Alcohol wasn't my problem. My problem was that I got caught. Alcohol. Alcoholics Anonymous really, for many, many years as I came to meetings, I won't tell you that I went in and out of AA. That's a lie. But my visits to Alcoholics Anonymous, my tours here, my visits were short-lived. And I always misunderstood something here, because I would hear you talk as if alcohol was the problem. And I had a secret. And the secret that I have is alcohol has never been my problem. Alcohol has always been my solution to the dis-ease and discomfort of life as an alcoholic. You see, I hear you tell stories, and your stories go like this. I was a wino. I was on Skid Row. I lost my job. My wife hated me. I couldn't see my kids. I was urinating on myself in a gutter in downtown on 5th and Broadway. And one day, I walked through that door, I put the plug in the jug, and today me and Bill Gates are running Microsoft together. That's what I heard. I heard that everybody came back into your life, that everyone loved you again, it was all wonderful. And I would sit in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous and I would think there's something else wrong with me. Because when I stop drinking, I don't feel like you feel, I don't look like you look. Now, I fronted off pretty good. I smile and go, keep coming back. Easy does it, first things first. And I leave the room, and I tell you, my soul's eaten from the inside out. I can't stand this thing I'm suffering from. I got married young, got divorced young. Long story short, I lost everything. I bought a home. I had a lot of stuff going on. I was 23 years old. My life looked really regular. It looked really advanced, because I bought a house young, and we were doing well financially, and I had a lovely family, a beautiful wife and daughter. And at 23, 24 years old, I had lost everything. And I was now entering rehabs and detoxes. And at the age of 24, I was sleeping on my mother's couch again. And I'm waking up every day baffled. I'm waking up every day and wondering what happened to my life. I'm waking up every day making promises to myself that I can't keep. And I don't know what's wrong with me. My friend, I get suicidal, because I tell you, if you live like I do, and if your every other weekend is to see your daughter, like me, and you plan on taking your daughter to the zoo on Saturday and maybe down to the museum on Sunday or to the park, and on Friday night you're sitting on a bar stool, and you can't get off the bar stool, and your daughter sits in the window at Grandma's house telling Grandma, no, Grandma, he's coming tonight. And you don't show up. And she waits all day Saturday, and you don't show up. And Sunday, around 4 o'clock, about an hour and a half before you're supposed to pick her up, you show up to take her for that guilt happy meal. After you start doing that to your daughter every time, after your mom and dad are always being ripped off and stole from and made to ridicule where they live, suicide starts looking pretty good. Silkworth talks about it in the Doctor's Opinion. He says that men make the ultimate sacrifice rather than continue the fight. And I'm tired of living. My buddy lived in Los Angeles, and he said, why don't you come down to L.A.? And I thought, if I went down to L.A., I'd get away from alcohol and drugs forever. This is before I found Venice in the 80s. And I moved down here and started the Countless Pain Attempts. I also got this girl. This girl was pregnant that I was dating, and I ran from her. She had a baby boy, and I took off like a coward. Like the chicken, like the loser, like the pathetic man that I am, I ran. And I, shortly after, moved her down here with me, and we got really sick together, and we were just the alcoholic couple that you see in front of Ralph's. We're the ones that the kid goes hungry, and he's dirty, and he's unkept. We're the ones that my son wears T-shirts instead of diapers because diapers cost too much money. I would never plan to be that way. See, I didn't understand when you guys talked about the progression of alcoholism. I never really understood what that term meant. And it means it gets worse, never better. And when I couldn't really clarify that, but I could see the picture. The picture was at 23 years old, I had a 3-bedroom house, 2 cars in the garage. I had a wife, and I had a daughter in private school. My wife worked at a bank, and I had an excellent career with a brewery, Anheuser-Busch back then. And it looked good on the outside, but I had alcoholism, and it was waking up. And at 26 years old, I got a 2-year-old son that doesn't eat a lot. I got a wife or girlfriend that's just as sick as I am, and we don't pay the rent in that place we live in half the time. we're in bad shape. It's really bad. I never planned on living that kind of a life. I never saw myself ever being as bad as those horrible people in Alcoholics Anonymous. All those stories you told, I was never going to do. I got arrested in '91. I ended up in a diversion program back when California had diversion, and I'm frightened because diversion requires that you take a test in order to complete diversion. You complete diversion, they expunge the case. You don't have to go to jail. But they have this test that you have to take periodically in diversion. I've never been able to pass this test. It's really hard. It's called the urinalysis. And I don't know how to pass the urinalysis. I don't know how to do that because I always have to take something. And I heard in meetings for years, just don't drink no matter what. You're probably going to hear that in some meetings today or tomorrow. You'll hear, just don't drink no matter what. And if you're new and you're like I am, I tell you, telling somebody like me, just don't drink no matter what, is about like telling somebody who's got really bad diarrhea, board a plane, wear white, and don't go. You know, that's going to get really messy. I drink no matter what. Now, if you're new, what they're really saying when they say don't drink no matter what they're really saying is they're saying go to meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous and don't drink in between the meetings. Get a commitment, call a sponsor, take the steps. Help others. Do these set of ideas, these actions over here, so you won't do what you're already going to do, which, if you're like I am, you're going to drink. Because it's not a matter of if I'm going to drink, it's really when. Book tells me I've lost the power of choice. So I'm in this diversion thing. I'm trying to not drink no matter what. I end up in a psych ward, 5150. I don't know if anybody knows what that is. Any graduates, 5150s? A few, oh, good. Those are my people. And while I was there, just like Bob had talked about, a guy came in on an H&I panel, and he came in and shared the message of Alcoholics Anonymous. I can't tell you why, but I heard that guy. I don't know why it was that guy, but it was that guy. And every time I'm asked to do something in AA and I don't want to go, because I'm telling you, man, I love Alcoholics Anonymous, but there are some days that the TV set's looking real good. There are some days that I'd rather go to the gym. There's some days I'm just too tired and I'd like to take a nap. There are a lot of times I drive places and I ain't in a good mood doing it, but I go do it. And I go do it because I remember that guy, and what if that guy wouldn't have shown up that night? I don't know what would have happened. I just heard this guy share, and he read my mail. He just started talking about alcoholism. He didn't tell me about how great his life was. He told me about how hard he suffered. He said he had an illness that kept him different, separate, lonely, and apart from his whole life. He had a hole in his soul that he couldn't fill with anything he could touch or see. And he said that he didn't know how to be a friend, a brother, a son, a father, or a man. And I knew this guy knew me. He talked about stuff I never drank and used, and I wasn't pointing it out and thinking I'm different. I'm listening to him. And then he dropped the bomb on me, and he said that on the weekends he got to see his daughter. And it had been a long time. I am the kind of guy that if I walk into McDonald's and I see you with your kid and there's any exchange of emotion, I got to leave. Because it's a stark revelation of what I am, and I can't outrun it. And I don't care if I got 25 days, 15 days, or how many meetings I'm going to at that time in my life, I have to leave and drink. And he told me to go to 90 meetings in 90 days of Alcoholics Anonymous, and that's what I did. I ended up at the Valley Club. I went to meetings for 6 months straight, twice a day. Didn't drink in between the meetings, didn't read your book, didn't get any steps, didn't get any commitments, didn't get a sponsor, and didn't want your phone number. If you were serving Kool-Aid, I sure as hell wasn't having any either. I'd heard about Jim Jones. I didn't know what you guys were still, but I'm going to meetings. I'm listening for the hope from the old timers, and I did 6 months like that, and I picked up a drink, which is normal for guys like me. Because if you're like I am, if you have the experience that I've had, which is hanging around meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous, just hanging around, going to meetings, for me, there comes a time when the pain of abstinence, when the pain of sitting in rooms untreated and sharing war stories is not enough for me. There comes a time when abstinence drives me back to drinking. And I took off on a run, and I spent the next year and a half attending meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous regularly and drinking. I know what it's like to go to meetings loaded. It's a cold and lonely, desolate place, walking into a room of Alcoholics Anonymous and sitting in the back of the room in a fetal position doing this drunk and know I don't belong here. And I don't know why I put down the crap I do to go to a meeting anyway, except I'm out of options. And I am lucky that people knew our primary purpose. They never told me to leave. They always said, have a seat, you know, welcome home, kid, welcome back. Never told me, get out of here, you loser, get out of here. You don't really want, you're not ready. Never heard that crap from anybody. I'm going to smack people when I hear that. Well, he's not ready. Really? So where's the willingness come from, pal? You? I don't know. I don't know where that comes from. I got June 14th, 1993, I woke up out of a real serious blackout, real sick, real tired, urinating colors, weighing 124 pounds. Wasn't the worst run I've ever been on, but it was a bad run. And I was sufficiently tenderized that morning. I was at a place of desperation and hopelessness. I was at a place where I knew that I couldn't drink right, because I can't get loaded right anymore. I start to do whatever I do, and all I hear is police radios in the background. I don't know if anybody relates to that. I can't get high right. And I can't stand not being loaded. And I'm in that magic place of not loaded, not high, which is just horrible for me. And Alcoholics Anonymous was the only place to go. And I begged to God that I didn't believe in for help, and I found myself on the phone with this little Jewish man named Art Miller, who just passed away a year ago. And Art was my first sponsor. It was at June 14th, 1993. And Art told me something that I'd never heard before. Art told me that I was an alcoholic of the hopeless variety and that I would die an alcoholic death. He told me the truth. He didn't go, oh, it's okay, forgive yourself. He didn't do any of that. He told me the truth. He told me, you're an alcoholic of the hopeless variety, you're going to die an alcoholic death, Chuck. And you're not guilty for the crap you've been doing, Chuck, but you're responsible. And he said, and if you're willing to go to any length in Alcoholics Anonymous, we're going to help you clean all that stuff up and you're going to live free. And I believed him. I bought the package. I became loyal, and I did whatever that little guy told me to do. He made me get commitments. He made me read the book. We were the 12 and 12 a lot back then. I did the steps with Art. I got actively involved in H&I, carrying the message into jails and institutions, which is something that's where my heart's at in AA. I'd rather do that than speak at any meeting. I love going into jail and detox. I'm like my sponsor. My sponsor's an active member of AA. My sponsor's a guy that loves the smell of detox in the morning. He's one of those guys, and I've become like that. And I have a new sponsor today. At 5.5 years sober, I changed sponsors because I was real sick in Alcoholics Anonymous. I was going to lots of meetings. I was doing a lot of service, and I was also stealing large sums of money from people through investment scams and telling myself it was okay because I can justify anything. And I'll tell you something. If you live like I live, and you sit in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, and you have the propensity or are actively involved in immoral activity, it gets hard to listen here. I don't want to be in AA because I got to keep hearing about the crap I'm pulling and I'm guilty feeling, and I think you all know, and when you said that dishonest thing, you were looking at me, and I start to get sick here, and I almost judge myself right out there where I got no solution. And at almost 6 years sober, I got a new sponsor and started all over again in the steps, which really the message there is no matter where I am at in recovery, I can start over and bump it up a notch at any time. I don't have to drink to start this process back over through the book. My life started changing. I started doing real inventories and real amends. Not just amends that satisfied the courts and the IRS, the stuff that's going to get me, but the stuff that was out there that needed to be taken care of, like the stuff with my daughter and my family, and some of the financial stuff, which I've tell you something. At 11 years sober, I'm back in debt, and I'm like trying to figure out how that happened again. And selfishness, self-centeredness, not my disease. My selfishness and self-centeredness has once again put me in a position to be hurt. I'm the guy. See, I didn't understand the second part of the first step for years, the unmanageability of my life. I didn't get that. I could see it early on because I'm loaded all the time. I can't really work or anything. But being sober, I could see the unmanageability of my life. I could see I could see that every bad thing that ever happened to me, every bad incident and scenario in my life has one common denominator, and that's that I'm in the picture. Booze or no booze. And today I'm an active member of AA. I do whatever AA asks. I make mistakes. And I have a lot of people around me that are on this path with me, guys that I walk together with, that hold me up, that I hold up, and we do that together in Alcoholics Anonymous. If you're new, I want to welcome you home to AA. I want to welcome you home to a new and better way of life. And I want to share with you the best thing that I ever heard when I walked through the doors, and that was, keep coming back, we love you, it works. Thanks.
I think we got a great talk going on here. Thanks for watching the channel. Taper Dave here. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control is connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst and one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, oop, out, in, up, down. And then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right. But I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.